You could feel the temperature drop across the monarchy the moment Princess Anne walked to that podium, because this wasn't a routine royal statement, this was a warning shot. The kind that says someone inside the palace walls believes a line has been crossed, and they are done playing polite. Whispers had already been racing through London for days. A young woman, a shocking claim. A story so outrageous it sounded like internet fiction, until documents, blurry records, and suspicious financial chatter started floating around in places they shouldn't. Suddenly, it wasn't just gossip anymore, it was a reputational grenade rolling toward Buckingham Palace. And Princess Anne, the one royal nobody ever accuses of dramatics, stepped forward and made it clear. The crown was under attack. Not from tabloids, not from comedians, from a narrative designed to destabilize trust. She didn't say Meghan's name at first. She didn't need to. Everyone knew who the storm clouds were circling. Because while the public was still trying to understand the bizarre secret daughter rumor exploding online, something far more uncomfortable was happening behind palace doors. Lawyers were being summoned. Financial auditors were pulled in quietly. Old files were opened that hadn't seen daylight in years. And then came the detail that made insiders freeze. Money. Not royal money, foundation money. The kind tied to charity, branding, public goodwill, transfers, consulting entities, paper trails that didn't quite explain themselves. Nothing openly criminal, nothing proven. But enough irregular smoke that Princess Anne reportedly ordered a full internal review before the press could even form a headline. And here's where the emotional fault line really cracked. Because Prince Harry, the man who once burned bridges with the institution, was suddenly the one flagging concerns. Quietly. Privately, sending information up the chain instead of out to the media. That alone told senior royals this wasn't just another tabloid cycle. Something personal had shifted. Behind closed doors, the mood wasn't rage. It was something colder, controlled, strategic. The kind of atmosphere where reputations are not defended with shouting, but with documentation. Meanwhile, Meghan's silence was doing what silence does best in a crisis, letting everyone else fill the vacuum with suspicion. No denial, no clarification, just legal distance and strategic quiet while speculation went feral online. Inside palace circles, that silence reportedly felt louder than any interview ever had. Princess Anne's position was brutally simple. If false narratives were being engineered to manipulate public perception of the monarchy, they would not be swatted away emotionally. They would be dismantled methodically. So teams moved, forensic accountants, legal analysts, communication strategists, not to stage a public fight, but to prepare receipts. At the same time, Prince Andrew's past associations were being dragged back into daylight by the rumor machine, whether he liked it or not. Old social circles, old photographs, old yacht circuit gossip that had slept for decades suddenly got oxygen again. None of it proven, all of it toxic. And Anne knew something critical. In the modern media war, perception spreads faster than truth. If the palace didn't seize control of the narrative would control the palace. So instead of dramatic rebuttals, they built a timeline. Instead of emotional denials, they assembled verification. Instead of attacking Meghan publicly, they prepared to expose inconsistencies, if they had to. But make no mistake, this wasn't just institutional, it was deeply personal. Because at the heart of this was a marriage already under quiet strain. Brand partnerships tied to a couple no longer operating as a unified front. Legal structures built for a shared public image now under internal review. The timing of the scandal didn't just threaten the crown, it threatened the Sussex narrative itself. And when Harry reportedly chose to cooperate internally rather than defend outwardly, it changed the chessboard. Suddenly, this wasn't monarchy versus media. It looked like monarchy versus a rogue storyline, with Harry no longer clearly on the same side as Meghan. That shift, that emotional fracture, is what made insiders realize this could end in a permanent break, not just another PR bruise. By the time Anne finished her statement, the message wasn't loud, but it was lethal in its calm. The crown would not engage in spectacle. The crown would respond with evidence. And if someone had tried to weaponize identity, lineage, or sympathy for leverage, they were about to find out the palace doesn't panic. It documents. And somewhere in California, as lawyers scrambled and phones reportedly went quiet, the weight of that realization started to land. Because rumors can be loud, but institutions fight back in silence first. And when the silence breaks, it's usually because the proof is ready. The explosion didn't happen with shouting, it happened with headlines. Because once the palace signaled it had moved from concern to internal review, the media scent changed overnight. This wasn't spicy gossip anymore. It was a credibility crisis orbiting a former royal power couple, and newsrooms loved nothing more than the smell of potential implosion. By sunrise, the narrative had split in two directions. On one side, commentators still treated the secret daughter story like a bizarre internet fairy tale, a social media fever dream that should have burned out in a day. On the other side, serious outlets began circling the money questions instead. Not accusations, not verdicts, questions. When did certain consulting structures appear? Who controlled them? Why were some financial links suddenly being examined behind palace gates? That shift was everything. Because once the focus moved from sensational claims to documentation, the emotional battlefield turned into a legal one, and legal wars are slow, quiet, and brutal. Inside royal circles, the tone reportedly hardened. Not against Meghan personally, at least not publicly. Against the risk. The risk that philanthropic branding, celebrity identity, and royal association had blurred into something messy enough to damage public trust. That's the nightmare scenario for an institution built on symbolic integrity. Princess Anne's strategy was said to be simple. Separate the crown from the chaos with surgical precision. No dramatic family condemnations. No emotional back and forth. Just distance. Paperwork. Process. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, the silence surrounding Meghan reportedly grew heavier, not lighter. PR teams are usually fast. Statements usually come. Clarifications, denials, counter-narratives, that's the celebrity crisis playbook. But this time, nothing clean landed. And in modern media logic, a vacuum doesn't stay empty. It fills with speculation. Was she being advised to stay quiet? Was legal strategy overriding public image? Was she blindsided or preparing a countermove? No one outside the inner circle knew, and that mystery started to feel less like mystique and more like isolation. Then came the industry ripple. Corporate partners, the same brands that once lined up for Sussex star power, reportedly began reviewing associations. That phrase is PR code. It doesn't mean guilt, it means risk calculation. Studios, agencies, streaming platforms, they don't take moral positions first, they take liability positions. And controversy tied to alleged financial irregularities, even unproven, is the kind that makes legal departments sweat. Suddenly, meetings were postponed, development conversations paused, representation teams reassessing timelines. None of it loud enough to trend. All of it loud enough behind the scenes to feel like the oxygen thinning. For Harry, the emotional gravity point shifted fast. Because while Meghan's public voice went quiet, his reported cooperation with internal reviews became the quiet headline insiders couldn't ignore. He wasn't defending in interviews. He wasn't attacking the institution. He was, for once, moving inside the system instead of outside it. That choice, whether driven by principle, panic, or pragmatism, marked a turning point in how palace figures viewed him. Not as a rebel prince with a microphone, as a separated stakeholder trying to contain fallout. And that's when whispers of a deeper personal split started feeling less like tabloid drama and more like inevitability. You can survive a media scandal as a united front. It's much harder when the front cracks. Back in London, the palace communications machine did something unusual. It slowed down on purpose. No rapid denials. No emotional counterattacks. Just carefully worded confirmations that reviews were ongoing and that unverified claims should be treated as such. To the public, it felt almost anticlimactic. To strategists, it was a containment wall. Because when you don't escalate, you starve a spectacle of oxygen. And if the loudest parts of the story couldn't be substantiated, they would eventually collapse under their own weight. But reputational damage doesn't need proof to sting. It only needs repetition. And Meghan, once a master of shaping narrative through visibility, suddenly faced a storyline where visibility could make things worse. Every appearance would be analyzed, every smile dissected, every absence turned into a theory. So she stayed out of sight. And the longer she did, the more the story stopped being about a shocking claim and started being about her retreat. In royal history, that's a dangerous pivot. When the person at the center of the storm disappears, the institution survives by appearing steady. Which is exactly what Anne ensured. Engagements continued. Speeches happened. Ribbons were cut. The monarchy projected normalcy so aggressively it almost looked defiant. The unspoken message, we are not collapsing. Therefore, the story will not define us. By the time global outlets cooled their breathless coverage, the wildest elements of the scandal had already started unraveling under scrutiny. The more sensational the claim, the less evidence held it up. And as that realization spread, the narrative quietly mutated from royal bombshell to bizarre saga under investigation. That's the moment Meghan's position became lonelier than ever, because the palace could retreat into institution, Harry could retreat into cooperation. But she was left as the face most strongly tied, fairly or not, to the chaos phase of the story. And in celebrity culture, once you become the symbol of turbulence, distance forms fast, invitations slow, allies get cautious, public sympathy fractures. Not because verdicts were delivered, because uncertainty is contagious. In the end, no dramatic showdown ever happened, no explosive palace denunciation, no televised reckoning, just a slow, strategic closing of ranks on one side and an equally quiet fading of influence on the other. The crown didn't roar, it outlasted. And as the headlines moved on, one truth lingered in the background like a chill that wouldn't lift. In battles between spectacle and structure, spectacle burns bright, structure waits, and structure almost always wins.